All right. Welcome everybody that's joining us tonight. We're a little short-handed, so we got a lot of stuff going on, but we still wanted to get a show out there, and especially with all the big news that happened this week. I'm joined this week by Mikey J. Raymond.
Hello, hello.
And also our moderator from across the pond, Anthony Mokelworm. He's Mokelworm on the subreddit, but Anthony in real life. So hey, happy to have you back again. And
hey, Jay.
We can kind of just get a quick start going here real quick, and I actually have a game I kind of want to feature, but I'll go to you guys first. What have you been playing this week? How's life been going for you? So we can start with Mikey and kind of go from there.
Finally completed the Cyberpunk story. If we wanted to talk about Cyberpunk and where it's at now, but I would be fully completed with Lawn Mowing Simulator if the achievement system hadn't gone down and I hadn't been sitting there trying to get the last 2 achievements for 4 hours without knowing that the achievement system was down.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, right? What was going on with that? Because I saw you you said you were going to finish it up and then you hit a roadblock, right? There's some kind of bug happening, or...
Yeah, I was sitting there trying to, it was the Ancient Britain DLC or whatever, and I hadn't gotten the achievement for completing a full contract in the Britain area, and it just wasn't unlocking, so I just kept trying. I even started a new save, and I actually, because I only had those 2 achievements left, I even wiped my save data from the cloud and reinstalled the game, hoping that would work.
That's terrible, man. I've really been snagged on achievements before, just throwing myself at them, and to have something for preventing you from doing them. You might think it's a bug, so like you said, you might try a different save or try some different techniques to fix it, and then you find out there was nothing you could have done, and they had you all along. So hopefully you'll be able to complete that soon, because I know that you're a big completionist, and man, that would be a huge thorn in my side. So
yeah, it's bugging me.
Yeah, I know, you go through your achievement list and you're, what the hell? Oh man. So Anthony, what have you been up to, guy? I know that, let's see, I know you got done with Guardians of the Galaxy a couple weeks ago, so that was good to hear. What have you moved on to since then? Did you need something lighter, or
I can't believe you still bring that up.
Oh, I mean, come on,
it's gonna be a story for months.
Yeah.
I'm playing Far Cry 5 still. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, cool.
It's just brilliant. Like the world is amazing. I'm finding that I'm not even going through the story. I'm just wandering around. Like, I only have a few hours a night, a couple of hours a night mostly, to play when the kids are in bed, and I'm just wasting the time, just walking around, just in the environment of Far Cry 5. I think it's incredible. It's real good fun. If you've not played it, you should check it out.
For sure. I mean, I haven't played Far Cry 5. It's I haven't touched a Far Cry since like maybe 3, and it looks like they've really evolved since then. The most recent one, Far Cry 6, looks really good to me, so it's definitely something I want to check out. Yeah. It does look like one of those games where you can get lost in the environment, and I really appreciate that sometimes. There's a lot of games where I'm really slow completing the story because I end up doing all kinds of other wacky stuff, like seeing if I can kick, like, a can over a building or something stupid like that. Anyways, that's pretty cool to hear. I still been working on Rogue Legacy 2, but this week I also was happy to see that 2 Point Campus came out. It was delayed from earlier in the year. If any of you are familiar, the same developer as 2 Point Hospital. Shocking, I know, but it's a real great light sim, and what I was able to play, it looks like an evolution of 2 Point Hospital. 2 Point Campus does. It's just a little bit deeper. It still has all the light goofiness. Like, it's not like a real serious thing. Like, all the characters are kind of funny, and it has a unique look to it. But Gamepass right now, it's a good title to kill a couple weeks during the summer if you like any kind of simulation or that type of thing. So look out for it. That was a good quick trip around the horn. Let's get right into the news this week and the big topic of discussion here. First of all, for those of you that have joined us in here live, thanks for coming in. If you want to come up and talk about this with us, we'd love to hear some different opinions and different takes. But we're gonna probably spend the first part of this show discussing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that we were given access to, things that us as gamers, we don't usually get to see. These are industry workings. These are kind of what companies think about the industry, at least what they're telling us they think about it. And I think I got a little spicy. We like to say spicy on the show sometimes, and it got a little catty even. There was some shots traded between Microsoft and Sony, especially. Some of the rest of the industry has weighed in a little bit too, and we discussed that a bit last week. But I'm gonna kind of just start the conversation and saying I was blown away by a lot of this. I really thought that what will be well, Mikey, I'm gonna throw this over to you because I think you have a better grasp of all the details, and then I'll weigh in a little bit. So,
Well, first of all, I've never seen thank you to the governments that allow this to be public information. I've never seen companies be so candid because of it. Um, Shots back and forth. Well, maybe not back and forth because it's just what was submitted, but Microsoft hammered into Sony, um, challenging Sony's idea of what being in the game industry means. If we just want to talk about their quotes, do we want to go after the blocked fees first for Game Pass, or do we want to
oh
talk
my,
about their stance on being potentially?
I guess there's so much into this, right? It's multifaceted
Right.
for sure. It's been coming out just a little bit at a time because of these documents, and let's start with that Game Pass thing because I thought that was pretty interesting, and it's something that we've all probably speculated happens, but this is the first time where we've seen these companies actually trading shots over it. So, what was going on here?
Yeah, so let me just give the quote on this. About 3 paragraphs. Considering that exclusivity strategies have been at the core of Sony's strategy to strengthen its presence in the games industry and that Sony is a leader in the distribution of digital games, Sony's concern with the possible exclusivity of Activision content is incoherent, to say the least. It only reveals once again a fear about an innovative business model that offers high quality content at low cost to gamers, threatening a leadership that has been forged from a device centric and exclusivity focused strategy over the years. Indeed, Microsoft's ability to continue expanding Game Pass has been obstructed by Sony's desire to inhibit such growth. Sony pays for blocking rights to prevent developers from adding content to Game Pass and other competing subscription services. Um, we had that Capcom leak this spring with Resident Evil Village and how they had structured into their contract that at least part of a marketing deal that no game could be a part of any subscription service, and then no other game on any other platform from Resident Evil Village could perform or look better than the PlayStation 5 version. um but people weren't, we didn't know how true that was. People were still kind of 50-50 on it. But for Microsoft to come out, it takes a lot for them to come out in a legal document that goes to 20 plus countries and make this claim, because that doesn't seem unfounded to me. I doubt that all they have is that leaked document. I think they know more than we do.
Well, that's a really
about
interesting
this.
point, right? That they knew that this was going to go everywhere. So there's somebody sitting in there and they're just like, you know what? I've had enough of this. And they decide we're just going to tell it like it is. And it's almost like there might be kind of an unspoken agreement, where probably both sides of the equation here, or multiple sides. It's not just Sony and PlayStation, but in this situation, it kind of is, where they have kind of a handshake deal, where we're not going to disclose certain industry practices because we both do it. It's going to look bad for both of us. So let's not air our dirty laundry, to use an old expression to put that out there. But in this situation, it seems like Sony got a little chippy, and they were asked how they felt about this merger, and this triggered all kinds of kind of turbulence, I guess is a good word, and they decided to take shots at it. They're like, yeah, bringing Call of Duty to Microsoft, well, that's a huge threat. It's going to make people move over to Microsoft to play their games there, and it's kind of duh, but it's also weird to see Sony painting that as a negative and to feel threatened by that, and then we find out later that they're doing, Sony's doing all kinds of things on their side too, which I don't want to call it dirty. It's just these kind of unspoken industry practices. It's a competition. There's ways to get a leg up, and yeah, these blocking fees are just, if you're a consumer, you're just like, oh my god, that's absurd. They're paying money so somebody can't sell this game over there, and it's so wild to hear that, man.
I mean, I think Sony's a little upset about losing that because remember, I brought up last week PlayStation 4 Pro or PlayStation 4 Pro, Modern Warfare 2019. It launched as a big bundle, and they were pushing it. I mean, the front of the package, I even went back and looked this week. It almost made it seem like Modern Warfare was exclusive to PlayStation. they were promoting the heck out of that game along with PlayStation. They wanted that. They wanted the marketing rights. They wanted the mode that came with it exclusively for a year because they know that it makes money. I mean, Vanguard this year alone, one of the worst performing Call of Duties in years, still managed to be the biggest money maker for Sony. And Microsoft is buying that company that makes all that money. So if people go to Game Pass because there's a perceived value there that I agree with, it's a better value if you get it on Game Pass, even if you just want to try it a month, $15, you can just drop it. You don't have to keep paying for it. It's just so easy to try over there. People are gonna, if they're on the fence, they're gonna get an Xbox. So Sony's right, and that's gonna cut into their their bottom line with Call of Duty, especially. So it's no wonder that out of all the industry giants, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they're the only ones that spoke up negatively about this. Apple came in,
Yes.
they were fine with it. Epic Games were fine with it. Everyone's like, sounds good to me. And then
Basically,
Sony,
right? To sum it up.
and Sony comes in and goes, "Don't do this. This is why." And they went on about how it's in a league of its own and everything. And then Microsoft shot back against that.
Well, Sony's really good at the game, and they have been for years. And I would say they've been much better at it than Microsoft in a lot of situations, So these deals that they cut, the news we got this week is that Modern Warfare 2 beta dates were confirmed, and guess who has an exclusivity window? Sony PlayStation, because they work these deals. They try to get every edge they can, and more power to them. As an Xbox primary gamer, I game on that side of the fence much more often anyways, and I understand it. I've never been real salty and bitter about it, but at the same time, I'm just like, boy, I wish Microsoft could compete better with that. And I think what we're seeing now is Microsoft getting to that point where they're starting to be able to throw some punches back, and they're not they're not gonna play Sony's game. They're playing their own game. They're changing all the rules. They're making everything that Sony's been dragging their feet on. It looks like Microsoft's trying to pull to the other side. And I'm not trying to say that as kind of in the fanboy sense. It's just, if you look at the industry right now, it seems like Sony is very comfortable with the traditional generation system, and hesitant to adopt new trends like cloud gaming and that kind of stuff. And Microsoft's always been a company that's just like, yeah, let's try some stuff out, and a lot of times it doesn't work, and they're just like, oh, I guess we'll cut that and call it good. That wasn't a good plan, or Mixer famously recently didn't really stick like they wanted it to. But it's it's just been a wild ride this week, and trying to process it all. I'm still trying to stay on top of it. Yeah, go ahead.
How I'm intrigued as to how much money it costs Sony to keep a game from Game Pass. I mean, think about the revenue that the company publishers losing.
I don't think we learned numbers. I don't think a lot of stuff was redacted, but yeah, it's a good question. I also wonder.
Just think they've got to cover. I mean, I don't know how this stuff works, but you'd think they'd have to cover at least a predicted revenue from the game for that duration of the Game Pass period. It's just, I just don't see how much money how they could possibly fund that kind of venture to keep these games off.
The thing that bothers me with that, because if you're preventing it from coming to Game Pass, and again, this is a guess, like you said, we don't know how much they're paying, but I would guess, because if they're blocking it from coming to Game Pass, that means they're blocking the full payment that would otherwise come to them from Microsoft. And assuming it would be, the perceived sales that would happen during that period it's on Game Pass, why isn't Sony just paying for it to be on their service?
Yeah.
Why pay for it to be blocked? And that to me is even worse, because if you're paying for it to be blocked, you're not giving value to anyone. You're only giving value to Sony, because by blocking it on Game Pass, that means that potentially there's going to be more sales on a PlayStation because it's not on Game Pass. And that's their idea. But rather than bringing it to their service, they want to block it from people from getting it on Xbox and then make their own players pay for it. And they're a business at the end of the day. So, that's a smart move. But when that comes out in the public eye, that doesn't look good.
Well, and me, if I'm a PlayStation gamer and they're paying companies money not to release the games elsewhere, well, what if they instead spent that money on bringing more games to their subscription service? They invested on something I can use, something tangible, and instead of trying to lock out other gamers, why don't you just make your offer, your products, your services, your perks your PlayStation Plus games, why not amp those up a little bit and give the value that way, which would still entice people to come to your platform, but in a less shady kind of, paying for zero content kind of way. Why not use that money for actual content,
Right, and that bums me out. There's been a lot of people that, and I mean, I'm an argumentative person, and I've been telling you guys on the side, I've been arguing with people on Facebook. And one of the things that I've seen is people are calling it the same as timed exclusivity or as full exclusives. I brought up this perceived value thing. Microsoft, for example, bought Bethesda full exclusives, which is in a turn is a benefit to their consumers who bought an Xbox over PlayStation. There's a perceived value now to a customer when Starfield comes out. A customer could be like, "Oh, hey, because I have Xbox, I get Starfield, I get Redfall, and in addition to I get Forza, I get Halo, etc." But the timed exclusive, and as somebody in the comments pointed out, Buck Bageek, Sony is the goat of timed exclusives. It also technically provides a value to the customer. In the case of Final Fantasy VII, PlayStation owners get to be the first players to play the game.
Sure.
That's again a perceived value in owning a PlayStation. Their fans get to play those Final Fantasy games before anyone else, and maybe they're the only ones that get to play them now outside of PC. We don't know yet, which is a benefit to their customers. Blocking Game Pass doesn't offer anything directly to a consumer, such as a timed or full exclusive does. And I said it already, it benefits no one but Sony. So the more I've thought about it this week, the more mad I've been with Sony. And I actually haven't been mad with Sony in a while. And I don't know if that's just fanboy in me, because I own them both, or if it's just I don't know what it is. I've never actually been upset with Sony recently like this.
It's no, I get it at a certain level, and like I said, I'm the kind of person that always sees the business side of things, and I'm just like, okay, you're doing what you have to do, but there comes a point where it starts impacting consumers in a negative way, or they're using money that could go back into their ecosystem, like I was kind of just discussing, and then I too get a little upset, and because I honestly believe that using those kind of payments to provide a better value to your customer is going to give you similar results, and like I said, that's a positive thing, and kind of like you were saying too, give them some content for it, pay. If you're making something that only is available on your game, like an extra cosmetic or something, I don't really get down with that stuff, but at least that's giving your users something for their money, because it really is their money and to start, right? And you're giving them something to keep them enticed into your ecosystem, other than that game's not available over there because we paid a bunch of money. And good for the developers, I guess, in those situations, that maybe they can make money in the future and develop for whoever the hell they want to without having to worry about that kind of stuff. But it's just so frustrating to learn that, to learn that's happening,
No, it totally is. One of the users brought up, didn't Sony have exclusive rights to special ops on Modern Warfare? And that's one of the things, that I brought up earlier. They had full yearly DLCs or modes that by the time that the next Call of Duty came out, it was completely pointless to go back and play that because you're already playing the next COD. Maybe some people would play that, but I'm going to tell you, it's a small percentage.
There was some Destiny DLC stuff like that, I think.
Oh yeah, guns for entire
strikes.
years.
They had strikes locked out for 12 months or more.
Yeah, and let's not be, we need to be honest. Microsoft does some of this stuff too, and maybe more than we're privy to. It certainly does seem. It seems like Sony would probably slap back in the face of these accusations and maybe call them out for it if it was anything similar to this. But I think there's definitely different kind of game plans for how they're tackling this, and it always has been that way. And that's why I guess it's great that we have the options between Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo for consoles, because they all have their different systems and plans. And Sony, to me, has always seemed a little more draconian and closed garden type of thing. They like to keep it all in their house, and Microsoft has definitely made a push in a completely different way than that. They're, Microsoft's bursting at the seam. They're going everywhere. They're just like, I'm going to be on your TV and all that kind of stuff. And we got some kind of industry insider this week predicted Game Pass to hit 100 million subscriptions. This is a guy who's known for just kind of shooting from the hip and huge grain of salt when he says these statements. But some of the reasoning he had really made a lot of sense to me, and one of it was the easy access of Game Pass. There you can literally play it on your TV. Everybody has a smartphone, thanks Blizzard, but everybody has access to it in some way or another. You can play it on your old Xbox One. You can play Series X games. And eventually it's going to get better and better. You won't even need the newest hardware to play the newest games, and I see it really taking off if they keep pumping money into it and keep moving forward with it and with the momentum they have right now. But they have to keep investing. They have to keep innovating. They can't get tired and can't sit on it and release a bunch of stagnant games after a while. Otherwise, it's going to turn people off. So, well, is there anything else we wanted to touch on in the story? Yeah, there's, like we said, there was a lot of angles on it.
There were other points. I'm just looking at the VGC article now. It says that Sony said that adding Activision Blizzard to Game Pass would lead to an unattainable lead in the subscription services battle for Microsoft, which Sony were late to they followed in Microsoft footsteps, haven't they, with their own service? But they obviously see it as that they're just going to be so far ahead of them that it's going to be difficult for them to catch up at all.
Yeah, and I mean, wasn't Netflix so far ahead of everyone? People thought Netflix was insurmountable for a while, and it's not. I don't think anybody can realistically believe that. But what a funny thing for them to say. What were you going to say, Mikey?
I was just going to say, I mean, look back to the launch of Xbox One, how far Microsoft was back. And then come to today. The dynamic nature of the gaming industry itself translates to a dynamic nature of subscription services. Sony is, they just, at this point, I'm not saying that they won't, but it just feels like they don't want to compete on the level that Microsoft is. They don't want to do that. They want to keep the $70 titles going. They don't want to bring new games to their service, because that's a huge thing too. And with Microsoft now having 30 plus studios, you're going to see 3 or 4 games coming out every year. Whereas Sony right now, God of War, absolutely terrific. Spider-Man next year. I don't know what else they have. KOTOR got canceled and they have Wolverine after that, but that's not next year. So even if they added that, is that enough yet? So they're worried about this, and probably rightfully so, because Microsoft has just been building into this behemoth with Game Pass, and they have a 5-year head start, and they've acquired all these companies. They've had a vision, and they've been executing it very well.
There's a real problem when you don't want the industry to change, and then the industry changes, and you're still stuck in your no, I don't want the industry to change mode. Like Sony's been, like you said, they're focused, and it's a very good lane for them, and one that they dominate. I don't think Microsoft has any near-term chance of competing with their, like you said, the $70 first-party titles, the third-person action adventure games. Untouchable. I mean, I don't know what Microsoft could come up with in any short time. It'd be 5 years before we even start getting into a conversation where Microsoft might be approaching that. And it's just kind of, and the cloud gaming and the everywhere gaming and the crossplay. Even Microsoft was a very early proponent of crossplay with the Switch and everywhere you wanted to be. And Sony was, what were they doing? They're like, no, can't crossplay with us. Because they want to keep it all in-house, and that's where I start saying that I feel like Sony is and I'll be looking out for themselves more than their customers sometimes, and I know it's a business, but I feel like Microsoft is usually looking out for the customers because they know that that's going to be good for business too. There's two different ways to do it.
Cycles happen, don't they? These cycles happen throughout history. It's like you got look at physical music to digital music, and the record labels at the time were trying to cling to I play a lot of music. I've been in bands, and I was there at that time. The labels were clinging to the old model. They didn't want the old model to that was where the money.
Yeah, so and in a lot of ways they were right. A lot of left
behind. Everyone who didn't shift, they were playing catch up for years, and it's the same now. Sony had just.
No, there's a couple points that I just like that feeds into a couple things for me. First of all, is when I see people kind of fighting the digital revolution in video games. I understand the want for physical media and the need for it, and but it's the doomsdayers that kind of get me. They're like, this will never work. What if all the servers blow up, and this kind of stuff. And people used to say the same thing, like you were talking about physical music. Music was the first one to go over, right, for the most part, and then it was video. Well, I don't want to own my videos on Amazon Prime or here and there because I because physical is always going to be better. And then eventually the convenience and the price, everybody finally flips over, and the physical media becomes kind of niche. And like I said, it still has its place, but it's more for collectibles and that kind of stuff. So that's one thing out of that. And then I forgot my other point because I rambled so long there, but it was,
if the servers ever go down, like around the world, if gaming's gone, online's gone, there's probably a bigger problem to worry about than your video games being in a physical format.
Really good point. Something's not good if that's the situation we're in. So, and then go ahead.
The other point that they made was basically that Sony were trying to make it that Call of Duty in itself was a genre of its own. Basically, they're saying that nobody could compete with that IP. And then obviously Microsoft kicked back and said that that's nonsense. There's plenty of other IP that stand up.
There's two sides of that story. One, I have to imagine that Sony right now is probably making their own first-person shooters. Maybe they're reimagining Killzone. They're probably doing something. But at the same time, I brought up Vanguard being the worst Call of Duty in a while, and it still performs so well. So in essence, somebody could make a game, and Microsoft touched about this, but I think they're kind of wrong here. In my opinion, the fan base to Call of Duty is so loyal, and the game is its own thing, that it has become its own thing within the FPS genre. I mean, if you go online right now, if you go on Reddit, you talk about Call of Duty, the vast majority of people are gonna, be crap talking Call of Duty. It is what it is. But the majority of people that play it aren't on Reddit. They're, that's a silent minority. Call of Duty is huge. Call of Duty has a following. Call of Duty has people that only play Call of Duty year round. I know people that never went to Vanguard and they've been playing Cold War. That's all they play, and they've been playing it for 2 years. And the only upgrades maybe they've made it, they've gone from Xbox or PlayStation to PC, and they still just play Call of Duty. That's it. I talked to somebody who only played Cold War, and they went to PC, and I said, "Oh, well, what's your Steam?" And they go, "What's Steam?" And they were on Battle.net playing Call of Duty, but they had no idea what Steam was.
I forgot that they forced it with Battle.net for a while.
Yeah. So, it's these people are locked into their own ecosystem. A lot of them are. And those are a lot of diehards. There's also casuals that pick up the game, but Call of Duty is really its own monster. And it's a good pickup for Xbox, but it really is. One other thing I wanted to bring up too, we talked about marketing stuff, and Call of Duty is coming for the open beta is coming to PlayStation first. Rumor is that marketing or Xbox only has to do 3 more years of Call of Duty on PlayStation, and then they could potentially start bringing it only to Xbox. That's another thing that could be worried, because those contracts are only in place for 3 years, and Microsoft's not going to renew them.
Well, let's give Sony a little credit here then, because they are obviously concerned about not just Call of Duty on Game Pass, but about Call of Duty going exclusive. And you have to wonder if that's a move that Microsoft would eventually pull. But if they did after 3 years, and after they already pushed the deal through, there's no recourse. It's too late. The cat's out of the bag, and Microsoft can do whatever they want. They rightfully own this company. So maybe when Sony's raising an issue, that might be a little bit valid. But even so, then you get back into the cases. Is Call of Duty really that important? And, I don't think Epic and Fortnite really think Call of Duty are that important. I don't think Destiny thinks Call of Duty. There's just so many other games out there that are in the shooter genre that kind of are in the same lane. Maybe not to the, obviously Call of Duty is the big dog, but there's lots of games that could fill its space. So
if anybody's listening and they want to raise their hand and speak, feel free to do so.
Yeah,
disagree with us.
I can't believe that no one has anything to say on this issue. But,
just so you all know,
with us.
Yeah, we distribute this on YouTube and through podcasting. It's quite a few listens throughout the week. So if you want to come up and share your opinion, this is a chance for you to be archived. Yeah. We even have some maybe free codes for games, and we would love to get some alternative takes on that. And other than that, I did want to kind of dip into some other news while we're up and at it here. And this one's kind of fresh off the presses. Hogwarts Legacy was delayed to next year, right? Just joining the bandwagon of delays. This year has just been terrible. If you had a bunch of games that you were expecting, A lot of the big ones have been pushed off till spring next year, and to the point now where spring next year is starting to look like your regular holiday game release season because we have so many titles dropping, which is kind of weird, but I'm excited for it in a weird way.
Yeah, what sucks is I was just talking to my fiance last night. She games too. But Hogwarts, she's been reading the books and then watching the movie right after, and she just watched Order of the Phoenix, and she's listening to Half-Blood Prince. And I mentioned something to her, hey, are you excited for the Hogwarts game? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, we're totally gonna play it together. And then today, it's delayed. Should have seen that coming. Did we have a concrete? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, is the big hype for it? I mean, it's completely off my radar, this game. I've been following the news about J.K. Rowling and about the people objecting because of her personal beliefs or takes on things.
Sorry.
Is it a hyped game? Do you think it's
absolutely it's hyped? I'm not even a Harry Potter fan, but you'd have to recognize that this is one of the biggest new IPs in the last several decades. It's up there with Star Wars and pretty much anything else you can think of, and just based on that name alone, it's really hyped. And then on top of that, the footage that we've seen has looked pretty darn good. It's a clean looking game. There's been a little question about the mechanics, some debate about they said there would be no microtransactions, but I think we saw evidence that there's going to be some kind of wonky system about maybe certain skills take like a day to complete, and hopefully there's no way to pay to speed that up kind of thing. But I mean, I'm kind of tangenting here a little bit. Besides basically, yes, it has been anticipated. I think I heard Mikey ask if there was a concrete date for it. I think it's mid-February of spring, so right around Valentine's Day. Said he wanted to play with your fiance.
Was there one before though too?
Oh, I don't know.
I just knew it was late 2022, like holiday.
Yeah, I don't think they cemented one in, and this could be the reason. They probably were scrambling and eventually just had to bite the bullet and say, yeah, it's time to call it what it is, and we'll get it out when we can. So I know for sure there is a concrete release date now, so hopefully they get all their ducks in a row by then.
Do you think, I mean, based on the fury surrounding J.K. Rowling, do you think it'll be successful? Or do you think there'll be some kind of backlash against it, or
there's backlash against everything? Are you kidding me?
I think people are going to still play it because I mean, although I don't agree with the sport, the Quidditch game,
quad ball.
What is it called now?
They've renamed it to quad ball.
Quad ball. All right, so yeah, they continue to play it, even though I think the sport is a little silly. Only because they actually have to run around with a stick between their legs and simulate a broom. It's still there. The fandom still wants to play it, regardless of J.K. Rowling. They went ahead and just renamed it instead. So I think the genre is beyond the author at this point. I think it will continue.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
So Quidditch, you don't forget it.
Don't worry, it's fine. Other people will know. I'm just going to leave myself out of this one. So
we almost got into it.
You probably should.
Completely left field.
It sounds like I'm good. There's only so much bandwidth up here, and I'm going to save it. We got kind of a weird leak this week from Clobryle. I probably mispronounce his name every time, but he does a lot of graphics that are really cool that you'll see around various fan communities. Also, a very highly followed Twitter account. Every now and then he has some good tidbits. And this week, this weird thing started happening, and people were seeing games that are not a part of Gamepass appearing on the xCloud service. There was even a point where somebody saw Elden Ring, actually got an ad for it on their phone screen that said, "Hey, play Elden Ring with Gamepass." And this has been screen capped and is repeated by several users. So people started getting really excited and started speculating about what this could mean. Especially, at first there were people being like, Elden Ring's coming to Game Pass. And I was just like, man, that seems pretty hot out of the gate. Let's investigate this a little bit more. So started looking into it.
Me.
Yeah.
I jumped on it. I sent everybody a message saying, have you seen this?
Well, hey, man, I mean, that's exciting.
But the thing is, I work, so my day job is marketing. I market brand for business. It baffles me that this thing happens. I've said this in the last couple of weeks, I'm sure, but somebody has to create these assets.
They do.
These images. So
outside of a spoof, right?
But who's? Yeah. For it to be officially sort of like for Microsoft to say, "Oh, it was a mistake," somebody's made that, and
Well,
it's
I
been
mean,
posted up. Like, it's gone through several processes of sign off. You know, things don't appear on the Microsoft website without going through red tape, you know, and huge sign off.
right. And
It
I
just
feel like this
tells you
might have
how
been
that can happen.
kind of like a little bit of a bait ad. That was kind of my take on it. Where you can play this with Game Pass on XCloud. You know, through it's not going to be a Game Pass release, but you can stream it somehow, and that's kind of where this rumor started to tilt to next. Is that people found a bunch more games through some kind of back end on the website, and they were able to load up certain titles, and it would show them if they were playable on XCloud. And there was like 40 titles that they had scavenged before Microsoft finally plugged the hole and came out and said, "Oh, this was just a bug, nothing to see here." And I didn't know quite what to make of this, but it really seems like a weird bug to have happen. And I think the speculation is that we might be looking at being able to play your own games if you own the license on XCloud wherever you are without streaming from your console. Even you can play it right from their
So
servers.
this would be digital only, right? You'd have
Right.
to purchase it digitally to access the
Yeah,
feature.
for the time being, there's no way to transfer your physical license to XCloud or anything like that. So, which would still be, would this be useful to you? I've tried to think about scenarios where I already stream from my console, so it's not really that big a deal. I guess maybe if the internet, if I was traveling abroad and thousands of miles away from home.
Yeah, it's if you're not on your network, isn't it? For me, I only use XCloud when I'm at the house.
Yeah, I say it'll be a benefit for certain games. I think Elden Ring's probably the absolute worst one you could play on a cloud service. When I saw that, I just was not excited.
You have like a 3/4 second lag and see how you're rolling on it.
But this feature was announced a while back that they were working on it. It was a mistake that it got released early, that they're working on it right now. But it's coming. They officially stated it was coming already, so it was a mistake to announce what they have now early, but it's coming. So sorry, Microsoft. This isn't a new feature that you're just announcing. We know it's coming. You can cover for now, but we'll see this feature soon.
No, it's just a bug.
Sure.
Everything's a bug. Now, you saw nothing.
Yeah.
So people picked up on that, and I'm sure we will see more news on it. I don't believe it was a bug.
No, like Moko said, that doesn't just happen. All those images popping up, they get made by someone and go through approval processes. I've seen it at my company. So,
and that person who made it has been told to make it. It's not just some random who just cooks it up on their own.
No, I don't think that's how Microsoft works, man. It's not like
a
bunch of people just randomly doing stuff, and then they're like, "Hey, that looks good. Bring that one on up to the."
How often do you see this where something leaks and they say, "Oh, it was just a mistake," or
all the time? Actually, it happens quite frequently. So it's kind of just one of those things, man. That we it's surprising that it happens, and you're always like, "How did that happen?" But somehow they always. It ends up kind of being the same story every time. They're just like, "Oops, our bad that you didn't really see that." So, I did want to kind of get into Overwatch this week, and boy, I have some strong, probably minority opinions about this whole thing. Where they're getting rid of the loot box system, they're going to stop selling loot boxes and providing them for in-game rewards August 30th. They have some kind of conversion rate if you have loot boxes stacked and flowing into their new system, which is going to be you can purchase skins, so you can just buy them for money and. Which I'm not mad at that. It just for me as a free-to-play player, it's a loss to me because I'm not going to have a way to earn these anymore that I know of because it's the flat purchase price. It's just it's not like a game reward type thing, and I'm sure there will be other cosmetics and game rewards moving forward. But how up are you guys on your Overwatch 2 and the changes that they're making right now?
Well, I will say you will. It's going free to play. They're going to have the battle pass, so you will have cosmetics to obtain through that system. I've always been the proponent of I don't like loot boxes. We went into it hard that one week.
We did. and making it through battle pass, that actually changes quite a few things to me because that you can get as a gameplay reward again, and that's kind of I like that. It's a motivator for me to play these games.
Right, but I will say generally, if it's like Call of Duty, the coolest skins and weapon skins and stuff are generally they're the buyable packs, which kind of sucks. So you will see. I don't know how I feel about it. You know, I wish there was a way to always earn something in game. I do. And like with the battle pass, for example, you can earn credits in Call of Duty at least, and I assume since this is an Activision Blizzard title still, that'll be similar. I just wish there was a better way to earn those credits that you use to, because you always purchase credits and then use the credits to buy the skins. I just wish there was a better way to earn those credits in game so that players could obtain those $20 skins with just a lot of gameplay.
Right. I don't need
content
instant gratification even. You know, I'll grind for a couple months if it's a really cool. That even makes it cooler to me, man, because that's like, dude, that guy must have played a lot of this game to earn that cool fire ring above his head, or you know, whatever they got going. You know, so I know it's a very controversial issue, and these developers are all trying to strike a balance between what's rewarding for players and what is perceived as being less scummy than some of the predatory stuff we've also talked about. So I did see we have a guest up here, and I'm very excited about that. I only have your name is truncated, but I'm going to take a guess that it's Thirsty Gnome. How am I doing on that? Nice. Welcome. You can discuss anything that we've talked about or anything brand new. Is I
was just wondering about the Overwatch. Is it still the case that it's quote unquote free for anyone who actually owned Overwatch? It's just if you want the story mode, you pay for.
The story mode will be paid for. Overwatch 2, the multiplayer will replace the multiplayer for Overwatch, and it will become free to play. So everyone's going to get access to it, and it just replaces it. Only the story mode is purchasable.
Cool.
So Thirsty, you're saying that anybody who wants Overwatch 1 gets the story free in 2?
No. From what I was reading on, what I read on Kotaku, like this was like a planned thing months ago that supposedly, and I guess you're saying it's confirmed that they said if you owned Overwatch 1, you got all the new characters and everything. It's basically an update. And then if you wanted the story mode, which is like the big new thing, that you have to pay for, which I'm assuming most players, to be honest, are just going to take the free characters, except for those ones that actually care about the story.
I mean, so maybe this is me being a little bit of a Blizzard fanboy, and I am, but Blizzard has a really great knack for telling good cinematic stories, and I'm more excited about that than the multiplayer, just the point where I'm at in my gaming career, and I'm actually interested to see what they do with the campaign and that, and you know, that might hook me into where I want to try out the multiplayer, so it could go kind of both ways. It is cool. I think I was actually confused on this before, and Mikey clarified it for me about the multiplayer going free to play. So that's not going free to play, but there's going to be a free upgrade if you already play Overwatch 1. So it's you know, a lot of people have written off Overwatch, and I think I might still surprise when they release all this stuff. It's crowded out there. Are you guys going to play it?
Yeah.
Like I'll play it. Yeah. But to me, it's not. You know, it's not my COD. I'm always the COD player, so the TTK, the time to kill, is always. I always like, I hated running into the character that was my complete opposite. Whereas Call of Duty was always my thing, where I always had that chance one-on-one. So that's my gameplay.
Yeah, sometimes you just, you know, like it's like the paper scissors rock kind of thing with those kind of games with the hero shooters, and you just run in, like you said, you run into someone that just has your number. You know, you're outmatched, and it's going to be a tough fight no matter what you do. So, Thirsty Gnome, you seem like a big Overwatch fan. Then are you going to be excited for this?
I'm passively a big fan, I guess. I've done my mill of Call of Duty since Call of Duty 2. Every now and then it's fun to play Overwatch, and I keep hearing the thing, but it was the whole free, but and then Overwatch has seemingly just died, and my friends and I have all moved on, but it'd be cool to just play a new game, our new version of the game, I guess.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely been in a rough spot. We've seen people kind of try to throw dirt on it and kick it while it's down, and especially when Overwatch 2 was first announced, there was a lot of confusion about what was happening. They're like, well, why should I still play Overwatch 1? And then we got more details. We discovered that there's lots of reasons to still be playing Overwatch if you're into that kind of game. So we'll all be watching that one really closely. It's going to be a big release, you know. They did kind of lose a lot of their momentum and their luster that they had when they first started, but it's still worth watching for sure. I have a game code for Risk of Rain. Would you like to try a trivia question for it, Thirsty Gnome? Is that of interest to you at all?
I've never heard of Risk of Rain, but
Hey,
sure.
yeah, you can add it to your collection and never play it, just like I do with almost every game I buy.
Yeah.
So, the question is pretty easy. The Xbox 360 came out in which year? Was it 2002, 2005, or 2008?
Oh, fuck. Okay, it definitely wasn't 2002. All
right.
I was 12.
All right, so you got it down to
wow.
2005 or 8.
I could have swore about my PS3 like freshman year because I switched from PS3 when Modern Warfare 2 came out. So Modern Warfare 2, Xbox was already out at the time. That was when I switched. I'll say 2008, but I'm probably way off.
You almost had it. I loved it because you were talking to yourself through it like it was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, man, when they're just trying to like draw out the time. We're gonna give you the prize anyway because we're just thankful to have somebody come up here and discuss some of this stuff with us. If you want to drop a comment in this post, otherwise I'll find you and we'll kick you over a code for that game so you can never play it.
Thanks.
You bet. You have a good time and thanks so much for coming up with us.
Yeah.
Cheers, man. Was that Thirsty's line that was crackling?
He was. It was kind of the Burger King drive-through type situation, but it's
okay. Because you might have seen me pulling off my headset because it was killing me.
To those that listen
for coming up, though.
Yes, for anybody that listen through or that catches us on podcast or on YouTube, I'm sorry we did our best with it, but what are you gonna do? That's what happens when you have a live show like this. So I have a few more codes. If anybody else wants to come up and discuss some of these topics with us, you can try some trivia too. If not, we're gonna kind of move a little bit more through the news. It was a lot slower than last week, but here comes kind of a ridiculous non-story to me, but it picked up a lot of traction anyway. Grand Theft Auto 6 will be a creative benchmark for the series, for the industry, and for all of entertainment. And this was told to us by the CEO of Take-Two. What else has he got to say? Our game sucks, I don't know what else he would come with. So, it looks like I'd lost Discord here. So, you guys are still here in Reddit talk with me though, right? Oh no.
Well, I read
will be better than previous game.
Guys to investors. That's
I'm
why
back.
I read
I had technical difficulties. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I read that he was on an investor call when he said this, and that really he was addressing those guys regarding monetization of the series. So when he's saying a creative benchmark, I read that it was a way to get more money out of players, and he was talking to investors. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you're going to sell your game, it's going to be at the investors meeting for sure. So
yeah, but
that, but really their bread and butter at the end of the day for 6 is going to be that online game, which has just been it has stifled creativity from them, because when 4 came out, the Ballad of Gay Tony was one of the best DLCs ever released. I love that stuff. Their single player DLC was better than the main game. 5 comes out and they didn't do any single player DLC because why should they? They were raking in the money from Megalodon shark cards left and right. People were buying money to get their latest motorcycle bike that flew through the air with missiles to missile strikes, and they wanted to buy their weed and cocaine business, their counterfeit money businesses. People didn't want anything else, so they didn't make it. So their DLC stuff is gone, which sucks because they are so good at it. And I'm sure we'll get a great single player campaign. It'll come out and that'll be it. We won't get anything from that.
They were talking about expanding cities, weren't they, in the online this time around? They're going to be adding, like, over time, it's going to evolve.
That
Based on
is the
Vice,
rumor, right?
yeah,
That they're
based
not
on
going to
Vice
replace the
City,
current one. They're just
yeah,
going to expand it.
which they never did with this one for me. You know, I was hardcore GTA 5 online, GTA Online at launch for about 12 months, but it just
They
got
expanded a
boring.
lot of stuff into it. I will say, you know, the one person in the industry that's still left in these sort of games, I'm going to give it to CD Projekt Red because supposedly they're still working on that single player, while maybe still
Yeah.
working on the multiplayer component, but they're looking to do both. And I wish Take-Two would do the same. I wish Rockstar would do the same. That's my only complaint with them. They just make such great content, but it's 8 years before they put out more single player stuff.
Yeah, and first of all, my audio got messed up there at the client, so I'm happy to be back. But I was a little sad when Grand Theft Auto Online took off, because I kind of saw it early what was going to happen here. Is the kind of like you said, they shifted focus. It wasn't about that DLC. It wasn't even about making new games anymore. That's why we've had such a long break between major releases in the Grand Theft Auto series, and they just started those shark cards, and I knew it was all bad news, and and if you're a fan of their single player stuff, it was definitely bad news. And now it's kind of funny to me to see them pull resources away from some of these online projects that they had going to put them back into a single player game to get the next Grand Theft Auto out. So I don't know what's going on at Rockstar. I know they're very talented. I genuinely love what they put out, and I hope that they are able to produce more worthwhile content for your single player, the people that built the company, basically, because that's what they built their company on.
Yeah, this translates to 25 million every 10 days and 1 billion per year. It says here that GTA Online makes in 800 million yearly from shark cards alone.
Yeah, that's insane. You know, that's like a Hollywood studio. It's like, it's just nuts.
So they've been riding it for, you know, how many years?
And people are still buying the damn game too, because it's released absolutely everywhere. They're finding it on new platforms, and you know, they go through and play that campaign again, and it's been really crazy. I hope Grand Theft Auto 6 shows you know, all the money that they've made. I just hope that they really do take the time to polish it and live up to these statements, and they're not just to polish up the investors kind of thing, you know. So I think is there any other news stories you guys wanted to hit? There was one other one that kind of caught my eye, and it had to deal with Battlefield 2042. For those that aren't familiar, and I think most of our users are by this point, 2042 has been a rough ride. The launch wasn't great. Content came out slowly. It got to the point where people started asking for refunds, and they were denied, because usually these people have played it for a little bit. You know, it didn't match the normal refund policy. But it feels like the tide may have finally turned. We started seeing reports from users this week, right here in our very own community, as you guys out there, that started saying that, hey, I've been issued a full refund. From what I've been able to glean from this, it's only limited regions. Australia is certainly one of them, where they're known to have a little more strict consumer protections. But I'm kind of happy to see this. I feel like what they're saying is that this product didn't deliver what it said it was going to be. It didn't even live up to the branding, the marketing, the words on the packaging. You know, the experience promised was not the experience provided. So I wonder if this will expand to other territories. At what point does Microsoft kind of say, almost like a Cyberpunk situation, that we're just going to refund it and take the loss and to just save consumer goodwill, you know? So that's kind of... did you guys buy 2042? I don't think either of you did. Did you?
I didn't.
No,
and I was going to, but the reviews came out for publicly, and people hated it. And being a Call of Duty guy, there's you know, I usually still get Battlefield, and I usually have fun with it, and I love playing it. But when Battlefield players were telling me it was bad, that's when I knew not to get it. So I stopped myself.
Yeah,
and hopefully it comes back though. You know, they're gonna try to boycott it, I guess, in September, but it's probably gonna go just as well as no Apex August.
Yeah,
which now
meanwhile,
Apex is at an
Apex is
all-time high.
right, doing just fine.
Yeah.
So you're big on COD and multiplayer shooters and that. So one of the things on the list here, Jay, we've got is the user post from the sub this week about the big rant they made about basically the third-party adapters like that Microsoft are allowing onto the system. How do you pronounce this? Is it XIM? XIM?
It's XIM and Cronus, and they actually left one off the list.
Do you see this? I mean, the only multiplayer I'm playing is Halo at the moment, Infinite. But is it a problem? Do you see this as a huge issue?
So there's a couple things. So just so everyone knows, these are third-party adapters that allow players to emulate a controller onto an Xbox or a PlayStation, and as such, they can use a keyboard and mouse, which gives them the benefits of using keyboard and mouse with a slight delay, because it's trying to do emulation. So there's some software latency, and you know how key I am on latency. So if I got something like this, I would probably hate it. But it emulates that and still gives you aim assist, so people can have these erratic movements and with the accuracy of a mouse and still have that aim assist. And there's different ones on the market. There's XIM, there's Cronus, and there's Titan. I believe it's called a Titan 2. I don't know what the Cronus is called, and I think the latest XIM is like a XIM Apex. And there's varying degrees of these. So the XIM is just a tool that you can emulate the keyboard and mouse. Not as bad as the Cronus and the Titan, because they actually allow you to put in macros, so you can give yourself no recoil. You can give yourself heavier aim assist. It's actually kind of disgusting. You could maybe auto program slide cancel into Call of Duty, and that's a huge thing. And just having that at your fingertips, just as a press of a button, rather than having to press the actual series of buttons that it calls for, it's an advantage, because you're pressing 3 fewer things, and you're able to do X number of things afterwards. So it is a problem. However, currently, I don't think any of these work on PlayStation. So I've heard, because PlayStation actually has a block-in for generic USB devices. So you're not able to use a XIM or any of that because it registers as a generic device. Xbox, bless them for giving the freedom of generic USB devices across the globe, but at the same time, that allows all these things to be used on Xbox. So things like the XIM, the Cronus, and the Titan all work on Xbox. So it's still a problem within the Xbox community. However, scripts can be detected. Things like the XIM, I don't know if they'll ever be detected until a next generation of consoles. So while people are calling for it, it's hard to detect those devices, especially if there's no software actually acting on things. It's easier said than done. And I understand the call for it, but Rainbow Six, I think, acknowledged it's something like 3 years ago, because I used to play ranked, and that's where this got really bad. You'd go into platinum games and everybody had a XIM. And I think even people were complaining in that thread about Rainbow Six specifically, because everybody on Xbox, there's no crossplay. The top people are using whatever they can, and they're using stuff like that. The top people in Overwatch and Xbox are using that. The top people in Apex, they're using these third-party devices. So it's actually a really bad problem, and I've seen it a lot, because you can tell sometimes by looking at someone's screen, especially if there's a kill cam, you can tell when it's a mouse and keyboard. Especially as someone who plays PC for the majority of stuff, if I go into something on console, I can tell, especially with how they're moving, because suddenly they don't go from going. There's a specific way controller players will move versus a mouse will, and you can tell. So yes, there's a huge problem, and they're right.
And it's been kind of a complaint even with crossplay. It's really hard to. What you're saying is a whole nother level than just using keyboard and mouse versus controller. They're programming in, like you said, slide canceling and that kind of stuff. That's major. That's a big.
That's insane.
That's a big strategy in in a lot of games, and it's just kind of. It's wild. It's a really old problem. I mean, I will say this goes back all the way to the first online games. PlayStation 2, even playing SOCOM back in the day, which is probably my heyday for online shooters. People use the actual Game Shark. If you guys, anybody remembers, that kind of stuff, where they would get a Game Shark, enter in codes, and it worked just fine online. And back then there was no centralized online service even, so it was pretty much, it ruined the game, and that's where I feel for these people that are playing these games today. And it's kind of mind-blowing to me that they're facing the same issues, just with newer tech. And I guess it's a bit of a game of cat and mouse, but one of the appealing aspects of console to me has been that it's been safer from hacking and this kind of disruptive techniques to online play. Not definitely not totally safe, and definitely not, like, completely clean, but for the most part you were able to find a relatively level and fair playing field. Everybody's on the same controller. Nobody has a better view distance because their graphics card is better. A console provides a very stable and level competitive space. So I actually like consoles for competitive gaming like that. And it's just such a bummer to me, even as somebody who isn't playing a lot of the new shooters actively, to hear that people that are trying to enjoy these games are still facing the same issues that have been for years and years. And I hope that I do understand Microsoft being open about this stuff, kind of like you were saying. That's their whole platform, right? They're like, bring whatever you want to do, play however you want, or however you want to, but there has to be some kind of firewall, some kind of line in the sand where we're like, all right, this is ruining the game for other people who are playing it. Maybe we need to look into a way to lock this down or to prevent it from happening. So this is another issue that's going to be definitely worth monitoring for probably this entire generation, and maybe even longer than that. It's just gaming's become a really complex thing, and it's sad to see that griefers can get one over like this.
I will say the XIM devices have actually been out since 360.
Right.
So.
I've got I pulled Anonymous AX up.
Yeah, so I think it was Mikey that kind of brought up the topic of Cronus and Titan. I'm recently like a new Xbox player. I previously was like over on PlayStation, and I can tell you, Cronus is definitely over on Cronus. I mean, not Cronus, on PlayStation.
So it's a big issue then. It's a big
issue. Cronus is. Cronus, I think you can actually plug into your, correct me if I'm wrong, you can actually use your controller with the Cronus still, right?
Correct. Yeah. So what I've never used it, but I've known like a lot of my friends that the type of lobbies now, I'm not trying to say I'm any high tech or any very high level card player, but the type of lobbies we go in is generally a lot higher level skilled. And once you reach to a certain level inside Call of Duty, particularly Warzone, multiplayer, it started to bleed over inside multiplayer as well, but Warzone was the main thing that kind of was like the breaking point. But once you reached a certain level inside Warzone, it almost was like a must. You had to use it, and a lot of my friends have even kind of converted over to using it and seen benefits with it, where they connected with their PlayStation controller, and you can kind of early on, before, sorry to cut you off, but kind of early on before you connect it to your controller, you can connect it to your PC and then set up some codes or some recoil resistance, and it's wild how accurate you can be once you configure your Cronus and then connect it to your controller. Like,
the thing is, once you've done that, there's no going back, is there? Once you've done it once, I suppose you're never going to go back, because it improves your game play so much, or your stats.
Yeah, and being on the other end of it, not using it, it kind of really sours your game so drastically. Like, for me, I took a long hiatus off of Warzone, and even a little bit of a multiplayer, because every lobby you're running into it. So the lobby is, Call of Duty, it's skill-based matchmaking. So the better you do, the more effectively the software tries to pair you with people of similar skill. So you're either going against people.
So it's a spiral, it's a downward spiral, then, isn't it?
Yeah. So and it's like you're putting in a lot of more work, and you're not seeing any of the gratification or any of the reward, because you're being more accurate and more skilled, and it's putting you with more skilled people. So you're either with more skilled people or with people who's using Chronos. So your lobbies, after like an hour or two, you're in ridiculous lobbies. Like, after a while, like, being locked in, you don't really see it. But I remember times my brother would be by me and he'd be watching some of the lobbies, and it's like ridiculous. He's like, I don't be in these lobbies. You see the accuracy on these people? Like I remember being in some Warzone lobbies where you would be repositioning and trying to effectively move across the map, and you would just have teams like beaming you with SMGs over like 200 meters, and it's like, I don't think that's skill anymore. I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out where skill.
If everybody's using it though, you're just going to end up like what does that even look?
Well,
what match even look like where everyone is using?
It's
it's
ruins
gonna look like
games.
a
We have
bot
comments
match,
right
a
now
bot
that
match.
they're just saying that it's ruins Siege. It ruins games for people, and that's just super sad.
So what's the solution? What's the solution?
Solution is to stop generic devices and to also have better software detection, because you can detect recoil scripts. You know, people used to do this in CS:GO, and they'd get banned for recoil scripts. And I think Call of Duty, the big problem is, and I could be wrong about this, Call of Duty uses a predictive spray pattern, which makes recoil scripts easier to program because you know where every bullet's going to land in a spray. Because it's predictive. It's not random.
Yeah, you're correct. From like not Modern Warfare, sorry, from Black Ops 4, they kind of moved that direction to where it's predictive recoil. Well,
Because that is
generally
seen
it's
as
going to be
more
the same.
competitive.
Yeah.
But the problem is, then it's easier to do recoil scripts. So
It's
you know,
fascinating.
and
This is
the terrible
fascinating.
part is if you're on Xbox, you're getting the worst of everything. Because on
Right.
Xbox, you can also have a XIM and you can pair it with a Cronus. And I just actually read in the thread that you can write scripts to XIM. So I guess I was wrong. I think that's because you can pair your XIM with your PC and then your PC back to your Xbox. And then if you go crossplay and you're facing the SBMM, the skill-based matchmaking, you're also running into people are running hacks.
Yeah.
So it's no matter what you do as an Xbox player, you're facing the worst of everything. And you know, one of the things people also call for on PC, Zims and all these other things, they're starting to be used on PC as well. Because even if you're on a PC, you're getting high frame rate, high resolution, and all that. But if you have a controller emulator plugged in, now you're using the mouse and keyboard against other PC players, but you'll also have the aim assist. And that's the huge thing.
The way
And,
you
you know, you
guys,
pair it with the Chronos and you have the script. So it's just like, what are you going to do?
it's so insane. Like this is the reason I don't play competitive shooters anymore. Not on that kind of level anyway. I had fun of Halo, but to really be chasing like top tier play, it's insane to me the way you describe this. So you're saying when you burst or when you fire your weapon in Call of Duty, I break this down to my kind of terms. The burst the spray pattern is already programmed in. It's not random, right? So you're saying they use scripts to how does the script turn that to your benefit, knowing that the spray pattern?
So like say you know that the spray pattern, I wish I could do this visually, but say
Me
that
too.
the center of
Try,
your
man,
screen is
try.
where the first bullet's going to land potentially.
Okay.
So from there, if you hold down the trigger, there's a predictive pattern going left to right and up as
Oh,
your
I
gun
see.
raises.
Like the recoil. Yeah. as it
So
goes up.
by knowing the predictive pattern, you're able to do inputs with the right analog stick to bring it down
To lock
and do
it in.
that side to side motion.
Got ya.
And that's what creates the beam that Anonymous was talking about, because you can just combat that.
Yeah.
And it's really bad now in CS:GO, because
So you're
everyone
talking
and their
micro
mother, since
movements,
it's a
right?
free game now, just uses whatever they want. You can get hacks for CS:GO for $2.
This is why it's great to have users such as Anonymous up here, and also having you, because you always have the lowdown on this. We brought Thirsty Gnomes back up, and I thought he wanted to weigh in on this too. Go ahead.
So just to pull a devil's advocate comment. So no, I don't have one of these things. I've always thought they're kind of cheap and cheating, but in the same sense, it's a pay to win in a way, because somebody's going to have the advantage. Could you argue the same thing about having, like, I remember in Modern Warfare 2 when scuffs became big and be able to have the paddles, and you could tell when someone was knifing too quick. Like, couldn't you say the same thing about, like, say, the Pro Controller and stuff? Like,
I'm not going to weigh in on this. This is I will say this is why I was talking about console games earlier, how I like the level playing field, adding accessories to give you an
it's kind of
advantage.
like having a nice headset too.
Right, you know.
In the old, like, ever since like Modern Warfare, I would say maybe Black Ops 2 forward, old Modern Warfare 2 and stuff was pretty bad, that you could like sound horse someone if you had a good headset.
Oh, I'm going to tell you that you used to be able to go back to Call of Duty 4, and I used to be called a Turtle Beach Kitty.
I still remember what was the map on Modern Warfare 2 that was like a it was like a lumber mill.
I kind of remember what you were talking about.
There's like the blue warehouse in the upper corner and stuff like that.
Estate.
But no, that was like the house. This was
Okay,
like
sorry.
maybe it was like a quarry or something. Maybe it was quarry.
Oh, it was quarry. Yep.
That's okay. I thought it was a lumber mill,
It's
but
like
yeah,
a stone
quarry's
mine.
right. Yeah. I remember when I first bought. At the time, I had like a Triton headset, and my friends and I went into a private match, and it was like, "Hey, close your eyes." Okay, where am I? Oh, you're over there. They would move, shoot. Oh, you're over there. Like over there. Like a headset was so groundbreaking as a kid, and now it's like, okay, if somebody had one of those nice controllers, like I don't know,
Yeah,
just
you haven't.
trying to play devil's
Well,
advocate.
you still
in
have to. My
conversation.
thing with controllers is you still have to do the input. You
Yes.
still have to press the button. When you're getting into an area where the controller's playing for you, like there's skill to holding recoil. No matter what controller you have to do the recoil yourself. If people are doing that, the game's playing themselves. Like they're not playing the game anymore.
Yeah.
So that's where my lines crossed. Because you can go out and you can get an $80 back button controller. I can't remember what they're called right now. But they'll actually have better input latency than anything you can buy from Microsoft. And they also have 2 back paddles, $90. Only $30 more than a regular controller. So there's options out there for stuff like that. But a Zim right now, and thankfully this actually got shot down for them because of this. I think you can't even buy a Zim right now unless you're going to pay $250, $300 because they can't make the chips for them anymore. So they got kind of screwed over. So people are out there still paying $300 for a used Zim just so they can use a mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be interesting with the devil's advocate in there that like
No,
you're
we
adding
appreciate
an
it.
advantage over the general population.
We appreciate it, and thanks for coming up again. Your mic has a lot of feedback on it, so we're gonna
Sorry.
have you back down. No, that's totally cool. We hope you can come up again and maybe check into that, and we'll catch up with you maybe next week and or whenever you can join us. You brought some really good stuff to the table tonight, though, and we got that code for you too, so we'll get that sent over to you. So thanks so much,
By
Noam.
Turtle Beach.
To go against what he was saying a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you break it down to like its most basic form, a good controller does give you a slight advantage, but I argue the level of the degree of the advantage, because when you deal with like a Cronus, and I've never dealt with Titan or what you say, I think you said the other one was a Sim.
Mm-hmm.
Those are more so software enhancements that kind of alter the input of the controller. So it's like you're not fighting another person anymore. It's more so like sort of like you're running against a bot, because that's how precise the software is. Like the amount of like the type of inputs that the software gives the controller the person that's using it. It's so precise. Like when you see some of these kill cams, it's like I argue if anyone is even able to make that precise of a movement, like even pro players, when you watch the like COD League, or I don't know, you guys were talking about Overwatch earlier, you can kind of see how general pro players, how their recoil and how their input is into the game. When you watch the kill cam for some of these Chronos, it's very precise. Like it's almost like you're not even using the same gun. That's how precise the recoil is. Like I remember a time where I ran against a guy who had an AK. And AK is kind of notorious throughout all shooters as it's a heavy hitting weapon, but it's gonna give you a lot of recoil. And the amount of precision he was using with some of these weapons, and it's like, nah, I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, but that looks too shady. That has to be like computer generated inputs.
Yeah,
even
with Halo, we were getting a lot of videos and clips of just some people that might have been gaming it on PC a little bit, and it's really night and day. I wouldn't, even the pro players, they miss sometimes.
I was just gonna say that.
They
Do you
miss
know that video
sometimes.
came out last month?
Yep.
There's a video came out last month with the pro player who got caught.
Yeah, these bots and stuff, they don't miss. Like the reticle is always it's just insane. And then you can watch the replay from their perspective in most of these games, and you can see when something's getting real weird, when they're, the screen is just like constantly locking on and relocking on the target. It's just so nuts to see. So thanks so much for coming up this week. We're probably going to be wrapping up the show here pretty soon, but if you would like a free game code, you can drop a comment on Anonymous. You brought up some good conversation tonight, and It's not going to be anything special, but I will give you something to add to your library. So thanks for coming up.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks.
All right, you take care. Hopefully we'll see you again. So you had some good topics. So
one other thing I wanted to touch on, making this public stuff, because this always comes through every once in a while. This discussion will come up, but it keeps gaining more and more traction. And as it reaches the public eye, unfortunately, not only does it get talked about, we need to deal with this, but I don't think Xbox can do anything with it. It only enables more people to find out about the devices.
Yeah.
So more and more people start getting them. And I just went out and looked, and you can still get, it's called I'll just say Cronus. I won't even give the full name because you can Google it yourself, but they're only $100. Widely available right there on Amazon.
And you make a really good point. There's raising awareness, and then there is raising awareness. It's like a double-edged sword, right? Like, yeah, it's great that more people learn about this and maybe Microsoft to do about it. But in the meantime, we have probably, just told 100, people how to go out and grab a cheating device and get one over on Call of Duty that had no idea about it before. So it's
good job, Mikey.
and again, it's a problem that's as old as time, and hopefully yeah, go ahead.
I'm just looking at the comment space that's going back to our original talk this evening. Somebody said Sony already has most of the exclusives. Xbox has been dismal for quite some time. Looks like the incumbent is just trying to bash the competitor without reason. That's regarding the monopoly, the Sony's opposition to the merger. So there are, there are people that strongly, disagree with Microsoft around these issues, or the points they put forward.
Yeah, I mean, but I like Mikey kind of brought to the table earlier is when you look at the rest of the industry, that's really what matters. The neutral players.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they're all kind of thumbs up in it, so, or they at least indifferent to it. They're just like, we're doing our own thing. This isn't really going to impact us, so go ahead, kind of thing. So I think that's it. First of all, thanks to both of you guys. We had the small table tonight, and I thought we had the conversation going pretty well. I'd like to thank our guests too, who brought something to the table. We got some free games for you guys. Thanks for everybody who stopped in to listen to us live. We know there's a lot of things you could be doing on your Friday night. Hopefully we provided some kind of entertainment to you in the background of your gaming or whatever you're doing tonight. And for those that join us on YouTube or Spotify or the other places that we distribute throughout the week, we extra appreciate you. We're surprised how many people listen to this, but thanks so much for doing so. If you ever want to participate in the show, you can come on by the Xbox Series X subreddit Friday nights, usually around 6 p.m. Eastern. We've been recording these shows, and we'd love to have you on stage where you can share your own opinions. You can help us host, and we can maybe even toss you a prize or at least get to know you a little bit better. So with that said, do you guys have any closing statements? We can kind of start with Mikey, Anthony, and then me.
I think with fewer people, I got to rant more.
You did. It was kind of fun.
I enjoyed it.
I probably won't be here next week. Maybe we'll announce that ahead of time because I'm getting married next weekend, so probably won't make the Friday show.
No, we're gonna need you. I'm sorry. If you can just do it in your tux while you're walking down the aisle.
When are you getting married, Mike? When is your marriage? Saturday wedding.
It's a Sunday, and I will say, that sounds dumb to some people, but it's half the price. So if you get married on a Sunday versus Saturday,
it doesn't sound dumb to me at all, man. Weddings are expensive. First of all, big congratulations. I'm really happy to hear that for you and the next stage of life. And we'll be fine missing you next week. Don't even think about anything. So, take some time off from gaming even. I know that's going to be a big ask for you, but no 1,000 points
it's not
this
gonna
week.
happen. I'm going to finish 2 games this week.
Come on, get out there and soak up some life. I know you'll do both. I know you're a killer, so that's awesome.
Do you have some? Do you have some gaming element to your wedding?
He does. He shared with us last time.
I have the program for the wedding is a Xbox cover.
Yes, I do remember.
So the walk down for people when they come down the aisle will be Lana Del Rey video games.
Nice.
There's a few things. So
just some nods, Hey, I appreciate it.
She recognizes it's a big part of my life, and I'm grateful.
That's a good foundation for a great relationship. We wish you all the success in the world, man. So happy for you, and like I said, it's an amazing time for you. So enjoy. We'll catch you in a few weeks and hear about how it went.
Gives me a chance to try and get past your monthly gamer score then.
Yeah, meanwhile, Moko's just going to be bashing out those 5,000 point games.
I'm at 17 right now.
He's at 17. He's on 17 already for this one. Insane.
I will be wrapping up summer. We're getting close to back to school time and just going to try to get all the kids ready for fall. I'm super excited for fall. We've been sweating up here even in Michigan, and I know the rest of the country's been really hot too. So bring on that cooler weather, bring on the football, bring on Mikey's wedding, bring on whatever we got going, and we'll try to make the best of it. Plus all the big games and the big news should start popping real soon. So thanks again for everyone who joined us.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, we will catch you all next week, and thanks so much, you guys. You have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye. Adios.
Adios.
Utupeleo chakala chetu tunachohitaji utusamehe makosa yetu, kama nasi tunavyowasamehe lawi utukosea, usitutie katika majaribu, lakini utuokoe na yule muovu na milele.